The monster is coming. The monster is coming. It was a Monday morning. The village children were all at school. Simon was looking dreamily out of the window. Suddenly, Simon heard a shout. "Run! Hide!" someone cried. The children looked out of the window. People were running away. Some people were shouting. They all looked afraid. A woman ran into the school. "Run!" she shouted. "Hide! There's a monster in the village. It'll eat us. It'll crush us in our homes." "Don't be silly," said the teacher. Then they heard the booming sound of giant footsteps. A huge monster as tall as a tree stamped past the school. It shook its giant head from side to side and roared loudly. "We should hide in the village hall," said the teacher. "Sensibly line up in the school playground." The playground was full of people. Somehow, Simon lost the teacher. Simon was afraid, but he wanted to see what was going on. It's not often you see a monster in your village. The monster was going towards the village square. Simon followed it. Simon was afraid, but he wanted to see what was going on. It's not often you see a monster in your village. The monster was going toward the village square. Simon followed it. There were lots of villagers in the village square. The monster was sitting in the middle of the square, and it was still roaring loudly. The villagers were half afraid, but half angry too. "Who does this monster think it is?" asked one man angrily. The villagers shook their fists. "We should chase it away," shouted a woman. They picked up a long log. "1, 2, 3, charge!" The villagers charged. The monster gave an even louder roar. The roar was so loud it blew them over. It might want some something to eat, said a village baker. He filled a tub with bread and cakes. A few villagers took the tub to the monster, then they ran away quickly. The monster picked up some cakes and started to eat them. Then it started roaring again. Why is he roaring? I make good cakes, said the baker angrily. The monster might be too cold, said an old man. So the villagers made a fire. It will be warm now, said the old man. The monster roared again. The roar was so loud, it blew the fire out. What now? asked the villagers. Nobody knew what to do. Then Simon had an idea. He picked up his stick and ran into the square. Come back, a man shouted. Stop him, shouted an old woman. It was too late. Simon ran towards the monster. Simon used the stick to draw a picture on the dusty ground. It was a picture of a boy. The monster just looked at him. First, Simon pointed the boy. Then he pointed to himself. He said his name loudly. Simon! The monster nodded. It understood. Next, Simon drew a much bigger picture on the ground. It was a picture of the monster. Simon pointed to the picture and then to the monster. At last the monster spoke. Blog, said the monster. Simon smiled and nodded because he understood its name was Blog. Suddenly, the monster picked up a big log and drew a picture of a monster. But this one was even bigger. It was huge. The monster pointed at this picture sadly. Then it began to roar even louder. All at once, Simon understood the monster was roaring because it wanted someone. Of course, he shouted to the villagers. It's not angry, it's lost. But what should we do? asked one villager. We should get it to roar even louder, said Simon. Then Another monster might hear it. How can we do that? Asked another villager. Simon stood closer to the monster. Then Simon roared and roared as loudly as he could. The monster looked puzzled. Then it began to roar. It roared so loudly that the hats blew off the villagers. Then it roared even more louder, so the leaves blew off the trees. Then it roared more louder still, so the curtains blew out of the house. Suddenly there was a boom in the distance. The ground shook. Then there was another louder boom. Something was coming, and it was big. Suddenly the square was dark. Something was blocking the sunlight. A giant monster stepped into the village. It was careful not to crush any homes under its huge feet. The small monster looked up and started to laugh. The giant monster picked up the small monster. Then one huge hand. Then the giant monster bent down and started to draw. It drew a smile on the picture of the big monster. Simon understood the monster had found its child. He looked up and at the little monster and smiled. Then the two monsters stamped off towards the monsters.